Hey everybody, welcome to Writing for Media, Spring 2023. And we are asynchronous. This is our first videotape, obviously. Um, and This is the class where you're supposed to learn how to write, but news write, which is a different craft. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the differences between what you're used to doing, which is basically writing about your summer vacation or whatever, writing a book report, essentially analysis of whatever you had to read, as opposed to actually reporting the news, which is very much a conversational kind of writing, simplified kind of writing. But it doesn't, just because it's simplified doesn't mean it's necessarily easy. So um, you may have, I think this for a lot of people now. This actually now I think actually that was the very first class they took. Now they used to take the other classes before I take this one. So all right. My name's Tom Davis. Right now, I am the editor-in-chief of a magazine called Best Review, which is, don't want to brag too much. It's the leading insurance trade publication. But anyway, um, I've had an extensive career, I would say, going back to 1989 when I graduated Rutgers University. Graduated from Rutgers University. Yes, I'm a Rutgers grad. Are you? And so was my brother, so was my grandfather, so was my father. So uh anyway, I was also a product of the journalism program. And you know, I think we've come a long way in this department, really trying to get people to learn how to write. It's funny because I feel like in a lot of ways, news writing is in general is actually just not what it was. It used to have some more rules applied to it and things like that, but it's become much more freewheeling and that sort of thing. So and actually I've modified my class over the years to try to like reflect that, things like we'll talk about like Associated Press style and things like that. you know Probably, I mean, even though you had to buy the book, it's not as important as it used to be. I used to give quizzes on it. Anyway, so a lot of what we do in this class is based on what we basically, the Canvas serves as our roadmap for this class. And I'm actually going to share the screen, and I actually hope that I actually like saw that a number of people hadn't actually connected on Canvas yet. So um, I try to make sure of that over the weekend. Hope you weren't too alarmed by the Friday night email. Okay, but I just wanted to make sure people were connected because we're starting on Tuesday. I'm actually taping this over the weekend, so hope nothing gets too dated here. Um, and my internet's going a little slow today, but this is the Canvas site, and it's just taking a little while to get there. There we go. I teach 3 classes this semester. I'm also teaching in person writing for media, and I'm teaching media ethics online. Okay, but since COVID has happened, this is something we've been doing, which is fine. I would actually much rather teach it in person, but this is actually fine. This works. This is good. It's worked out very well for everybody who's taken this course, as far as I'm concerned, or just about everybody. um, so as we have here, this is the intro page. Welcome to Writing for Media, introductory course offered by Department of Journalism. And it kind of works a little bit like the syllabus here, the intro. In this course, students will develop a strong foundation in writing for diverse forms of media. So basically, there's different forms of media. It's not just all the newspapering and news sites that we talk about, but there's obviously like public relations writing, which is also another form of media reporting, television, internet, whatever, it doesn't matter. Broadcast news, okay? They all kind of have like the same kind of format. There's very much formulaic news writing. And for a lot of people, it's almost like the reaction they have initially is essentially, um, is it really, we really can use these words as simple? I really don't have to throw a thesaurus at you, a swallow a thesaurus? Because we're just so used to like writing these reports and like writing like, really long reports where basically they're like 10 pages long and you pad it and the whole thing. I did that. But one thing to keep in mind, by the way, whenever you've done those reports, if you notice that most of the teachers you had don't put marks, they put marks on the first couple of pages and then maybe marks on the last page, because a lot of times they don't read it. So anyway, in this class, we read it, we edit it, and then you get a chance to rewrite it, which I'll get into, okay? So yeah, we have some of the things here. This is my email, obviously, very important to stay connected with me on email. And one of the things I'm going to ask you guys to do is actually to write to me and on an email and just say hi, because I want to have your email address. That's how I deliver your homework grades back to you, your homework markups, that sort of thing. So make sure that you do that. I'll make sure I'll include that in my note to you with this video, okay? Here's the book to buy. We're still with the 12th edition, Writing for Media, and I actually teach off of the online version, which is on this thing called Chegg. There it is right there. Okay. I couldn't find it on Amazon or anything like that. So, but I mean, I'm sure you could buy it off of Amazon, the hard copy. So, but I don't think I found it on Amazon Kindle, so I just use this one. Okay. And we have reading assignments out of that. I don't actually grade the reading assignments. It's a very weird thing. People kind of don't understand it. Why I give out reading assignments and I don't actually grade people or ask people what to do. And then there's actually stuff in the book that gives you the impression that those are assignments in the book. And I tell people, don't do those assignments. We're just doing writing in this class. We're just doing writing assignments. Also, please don't buy the workbook. Okay, that's another big thing. Don't buy the workbook. Just buy this book and the Associated Press style guide. I have 219. Maybe there's a more updated version. I probably should have put the more updated version. Whatever, just get the more updated version. Okay, the most recent one you get, whatever they offer at the bookstore or wherever. Okay. I would say get anything 2021 and after. I probably should have said that there. Okay. Now the guide that I was talking about, this serves as a guide, and you go to the modules, and I basically provide you. Now this is the teacher view, this is not the student view, okay? But I provide essentially a guide of what we talk about each week. Right now we're on course introduction, okay? During the first class, we start by talking about ourselves, outlining, of course, an outline of the syllabus, essential. Okay. So I provide you some sort of guide what we're doing. And then, like I said, there's reading assignments that actually you'll see. They're due each week. Typically, there may be like a couple weeks where they're like, it's like an extra week here, extra week there. Maybe there's like not even a reading assignment that week. But you'll see actually, and then the stuff that's in black, those are actually assignments that haven't been published yet. I have some assignments that are actually in formulation, others that are not. So please don't pay attention to that. But this one is actually going to be posted by the time this video is posted. It's a profile assignment on yourself, which I'll get into a little bit more. But basically, this is a non-grade assignment. This is actually something that actually gives me an idea like where you're at. I mean, this thing about teaching journalism is that you do not have a lot of people don't learn it before they get to college. So it's a different craft of writing. So a lot of people come in here and it's totally fine, not knowing anything about it. Maybe just kind of knowing it through osmosis, because a lot of what you read on Twitter or whatever else is actually kind of like in a news writing format. It's very much a conversational style. So what I try to do is on this very first assignment, which again is not graded, but is mandatory, is to get an idea where you're at. Okay. And it helps me know where to teach for this semester. Okay. And it gives me an opportunity to give you an idea like what direction you should be heading in the semester before I actually start laying the grades on you. Okay. So you're right. What I want you to do, and just do in a week, is actually do less than a week, because typically we operate assignments to do on Mondays. This because of the holiday, we actually are starting on Tuesday. So this will be doing 6 days on Monday, the 23rd. Write a short 5 paragraphs profile on yourself in the third person. So this is kind of weird. You gotta write a third person profile on yourself, like you're reporting yourself, like you're interviewing yourself. Third person is he, she, it. I want to see an I or a me in this story. Okay. You're going to write John Brown. If your name is John Brown, you're going to write about John Brown. John Brown is a blah, blah, blah. Brown said this. Last name is how you typically refer to somebody on a second reference in a news story. Okay. Brown said this. Brown said that. Okay. He, she, it, third person. You're writing the third person. Something about unique about you. Okay, there's always something unique about yourself. I don't care what people say. They say, there's nothing unique about me. There's something unique about you. Maybe you're working long. It doesn't have to be something like I go cliff diving into the in New Zealand. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It could be something like you're working your ass off on a job, and you're trying to get to school in and blah blah blah. It can serve as an inspiration to people, and that could be like a bit unique depending on the number of hours you work or whatever, to get yourself through school or something, or um, you know, that sort of thing, so please write in third person voice as though you're interviewing yourself. This assignment is ungraded, but it's mandatory. It'll give me an idea skill sets you have going into this course. Okay. And what I typically do is, again, this is in black right now because I'm taping this over the weekend, so I haven't actually posted yet, but it'll be posted by the time. That's weird. I put the mod assignments. Oops. It'll be posted by the time you get this video. Okay. This is posted. The reading assignments, chapters 1 and 2 of the book, very much introductory chapters, kind of laying the guidelines like I'm doing right now about like what's necessary for writing, what writing is, what news writing is, I should say. What do you do? What does it involve? I'll give you like kind of like a little bit of an intro thing here. I mean, this is the newspaper right here, and I probably shouldn't use the New York Times as an example because what they say is essentially is that news writing is actually typically written on like a fourth grade level. Now that may sound like a kind of a dumbing down thing, but the idea here is it's supposed to be some sort of a universal language that everybody can understand. Okay. So if it's something that's written on a fourth grade level, you want it to something that everybody on every intellectual level, every grade level almost, can understand, because so they can be informed. And you might remember that like maybe in your public school or private school classes, you had to do a current event project, usually like third or fourth grade or something. Well, that's done because they want you to read the news. Okay. They want you to stay connected. So that's what we write to. We write to that kind of level. It's written for this is the most popular literary form out there, is journalism. Okay. And a lot of the famous authors started out that way, or they actually evolved into it. And what it's done is typically it's written in a very much a conversational format. I mean, New York Times can be actually is considered a higher grade level. Probably shouldn't use it, but what you typically do is when you see a news story, you usually see like these small paragraphs. And this is how I want you to write this self-profile on yourself. I want you to write like one sentence or two sentence paragraphs. In this case, like the lead, which is usually the first paragraph, is what the story is about. Okay, that usually will tell you exactly what the story is about. It's like a Twitter tweet. Okay, so you have essentially Britain on Saturday indicated it will provide thanks to Ukraine, which would reverse the West's nearly a year-long resistance to giving Ukrainians some of the most powerful weapons to fight Russia. Very much straightforward, not a lot of like class or style to that, but just basically just giving you the news. And then there's a space, much like you would in a conversation. If this was like connected together, it would be a ramble. You don't want people. You don't want to read something that reads like a ramble or a textbook. You want to like take a breath and then go to the next paragraph. The announcement is expected to ratchet up pressure on Germany to commit it to sending its coveted Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine, or to at least allow other European countries that have these German-made tanks given them. Blah blah blah. Okay, and there's another space here. It's very much spaced apart, one sentence at a time, one thought at a time, giving you a break at each time, much like you would in a conversation. See, I just took a break right there. Took a break right there. That's how journalism work. It's very much like a conversation. Okay. All right. I mean, very much. I always say that the first half of the semester is, I really concentrated on the writing end of things. They always, one question you might ask if you ever go into journalism, they may ask you is like, do you think yourself as a better reporter or writer? And actually, the right answer usually is a better reporter, because the idea is to really have an idea of not just be able to like write the news in a way that everybody can understand, but find the news, dig it up. I mean, basically your research, and I hate to use that word because this is not a research paper class at all. Okay. But your research is vital, because you want to make sure you get as much information as possible, or as I like to say, get as close to the truth as possible. We can't always be in the room when things are happening. when classified documents are found or by a certain president or former president or whatever, so we try to get as close to the truth as possible by interviewing people, finding documents, whatever, okay? So basically you can go through this, you can see that like, AP style, writing basics. And then once around the time of like the spring break, that's when we actually get into like things like public relations writing and major assignment preparation, which is the very final assignment, the last day of class being May 1. Data journalism, feature news, etc. Okay. And you might see some like assignments there. They're not really totally planned yet. Okay, but this one will be posted. Okay. Any questions out there? Just kidding. Anyway, all right. So as you go through here, you will see that there's actually also a syllabus, and I will go over that because I always have to go over that. Syllabus, spring 23. Okay, so here it is. Spring 2023 syllabus. Okay. Asynchronous, that's my email, todavis@rutgers.edu. And remember, please email me and just say hi. I just want your email on record, okay? Okay, so this is the fundamentals of writing across all media platforms, as I said before. Students will be able to write for many journalistic and media-based styles using basic and accepted techniques accepted by each discipline, okay? Writing for media is an introductory level course. Basically, this is not an English course, okay? So like, I mean, there is some expectation that you have some level of knowledge of grammar and things like that. I don't want to really be spending a lot of time on that, okay? Because it's supposed to be beyond that, but I understand that not always things that work out that way. I also understand that like we have international students, maybe a bit of a language barrier, which is I understand. I take that into account. That's totally fine. So, but we really have to make sure that we have like noun verb agreement, that sort of thing. I have it in here, but basically active voice style. That's basically putting the noun before the verb, not the noun after the verb. So like I was saying, Brown said this, Brown said that. Brown did this, Brown did that. So you basically noun verb. That's the style we write. Declare. It's what they call declarative sentences. It's how I'm talking right now, basically. And it's very much the conversational style. You never really hear people say things like when somebody asks a question like, "Did you hear who was dating somebody?" Then and then they don't say things like, "It was the dating done by John Brown with Jermaine whatever." It doesn't. You don't talk like that. You say John Brown is dating blah blah blah. Okay. All right. So let's go through here. Identify, of course, learning objectives, identify and analyze characteristics of styles, different forms of media writing. I mean, it's all basically the same kind of style in writing. Okay. Research, write, edit for different forms, write clearly and accurately. Yeah, the Associated Press style book, that serves as almost like kind of like a dictionary and a guidebook. And what that does is it actually helps you understand things like how certain things are done in terms of like how things are phrased. It's very important for things like what it does is it provides like a certain consistency. So again, providing a consistency in a language just so everybody can understand it. Things like how should I abbreviate a state? And actually the Associated Press style book actually differs from their postal code in that sense. Like I think was it Alaska's AK or something, but actually the Associated Press style book says that Alaska is actually not abbreviated, just spell out Alaska. Texas is also not abbreviated. I believe it's TX in the postal code, but Associated Press style says you should spell it out. Things like New Jersey is N period J period, capitals, uppercase. Florida's FLA with the L and the A lowercase period, things like that. There's also things like, how do I when I identify a police officer, do I do captain, like spell it out, or is it CAPTP period or whatever, okay? Don't buy the workbook. There is actually a mobile app for the Associated Press style book, so if you just want to go there, see if you can, that'll be easier. I also have provided a cheat sheet which I can get into, but for that, okay. All right, so methods of assessment. In-class participation. Well, we don't really have a class, do we? So how the hell do I do that? And it's funny because I'll go over this, but I'll still get that question. How do you measure class participation? Well, okay, so we have writing exercises, things like that. One of the things I take into account is that you're getting your things in on time. And yes, that kind of does kind of blend in with the that does blend in with the actual grade of the assignment because I want you to get the assignments done in too. But if you make a regular habit of like not getting your assignments in on time, you're not participating in class. Okay. And there's also time when I actually ask for things like feedback. I asked for there's a couple of times where I actually ask you to actually make up your own assignment and people don't do it. That's a class participation grade, even though there's no letter grade attached to it. Okay. That specific assignment. Also I do discussion points for some assignments, and that's a big one. That one you really should participate in. Okay. That's a class participation exercise. Also asking me questions, things like that. I like that. Okay. And I like it. I mean, I also set up Zoom appointments. I have office hours, which done by appointment. I like to do usually on Thursday night or something like that, but I'll do it during the week, whatever. My job right now, my old job, I wasn't able to set up much time at all, but now I can, so I can actually do things during the day too, if that's necessary. Although actually I just got recently promoted, so I actually have less time than I did have last semester. So anyway, key writing assignments, I say 6 to 7, but there's 7. Okay. There's going to be 7 unless I usually kind of leave a little wiggle room there because sometimes things happen. I don't know. I just had this recent issue like over the last few semesters where I had this thing just recently diagnosed called TMJ, where I have a misaligned jaw. And so that was actually a factor where I actually had to like cancel a couple of things like my in-person class, stuff like that, because I didn't know what the hell was going on with me. But I finally got this damn thing diagnosed about a month ago, right after the last semester ended. So I'm actually like wearing a night guard now. So that actually seems to be working. Fingers crossed. Actually supposed to take like at least 6 months to rehabilitate, but I'm already showing progress. The fact that I'm actually just kind of talking here at length, I had a hard time last semester doing that. So there's 6 to 7 key writing assignments, but here's the thing. Reading assignments are not be graded directly, but I can tell when you're not, they supplement what I talk about. Okay. And I can tell when you're not reading them because I can see it in the work, the writing, because what they do is they essentially buffer and reinforce the things I say. Okay. And they even provide maybe things I don't say, but an extension of that. Okay. So that's really important. But let me go to I grade on progress. So your last assignments actually count more than your first assignments. And I do have a rubric, okay? And actually, if you go down, again, this is the teacher view, okay? So if you go down, you'll see the rubric and grading under week 3, okay? And this is how I grade here. So I actually provide, I'm gonna get a little more into depth about basically, but it is subjective how I grade, okay? I consider what's publishable, understandable, but not necessarily New York Times level, but like I used to work for Patch.com, which is a local news service, very simple. Targum, something that can get published in there and basically be it's accurate, it's clear and focused. I have 3 main tenets, by the way. And they're right here: accuracy, clarity, and focus. Okay. Always to be better to be right than be first. Okay. You gotta be right. You gotta be careful with how you report things. You gotta make sure that you got your name spelled right, your facts right. I mean, that is actually essential before anything. And you could write like the worst piece of crap in the world as far as I can understand, but what matters more important than anything, I could work with that. Okay. But if you get things wrong and you're sloppy about it, that's bad. Okay. If you realize names like Brown could be spelled different ways, like Brown could be spelled with an E at the end. So you have to be careful about things like that. Okay. B plus, published understandable, but with some editing. B, publishable and understandable with some more editing. C plus gets into potentially publishable and understanding. We'll talk more about this as your papers come in. It's really kind of like talking out of context here. But one thing you should know is that I offer a rewrite on every assignment except for the last one, which is the major assignment. That assignment counts more than anything, and it's also due the last day of class, so there's no opportunity for a rewrite. What I do is I ask for actually rewrite pre-writes. I ask for people to actually write in advance and send me like a rough draft or something. But you get essentially you get a rewrite, you get an opportunity to rewrite every assignment, unless you get an A, for a higher grade. How about that? If it's really no improvement at all, I don't lower the grade. I just keep the grade at the same level. Okay, that rarely happens. But on the very first draft that I hand back to you, which I do through email, I don't give a D or an F. I give an R. Okay, in that case, you actually have to rewrite, or you get an F. You don't rewrite it, you get an F. That means basically it's not publishable, not clearly understandable, lacks clarity, focus, is even inaccurate, that sort of thing. Again, it's subjective from my point of view. I play editor in chief here. Okay, so if it's, and there's going to be probably a bunch of R's on that first go around. There always is. Don't be upset by that. I've seen a lot of people actually get R's and then turn around that rewrite into an A. I've had people who would like write R's for their first assignments almost the entire semester, and then somehow they always bounce back on that second draft. And then because that reflects actually the real journalism world. I mean, things move a lot faster these days than they do, but that actually is how it works. There's so much rewriting that goes on. Your best writing actually is your rewriting. And actually, to be honest with you, rewriting is actually like how writing works, essentially. We're all rewriters. The only time you're really truly a writer is when you actually put that first thing down on paper. Then after that, you essentially become a rewriter / editor. Now, a lot of times you don't have a lot of time to do that, okay, to just rewrite something because it's breaking news or whatever. But when you put something down, you go back to it an hour later, 2 hours later, and read it again. You say to yourself, "Oh, that doesn't work," because you have a different perspective, a clearer head, perhaps, that sort of thing. So the rewriting is actually a very important tool and a very important learning tool for writing. Okay, news writing. Okay. Here's how the grades work essentially. Because what I do is actually I grade on progress, the sixth assignment, and the seventh assignment. The last assignment, see, what happens is each of these count once, the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Then the sixth assignment counts twice as much as one of the previous assignments. 18 points. So this writing grade is 70% of your grade. Okay. So this is within the 70%. So it's 9.1%. This is not the assignment I just talked about, by the way. This is going to be your first graded assignment. This is not the self-profile assignment. So your very first grade assignment will be 9.1% of your grade. Then it's 9.1, 9.1. And then this assignment, which by the way I'll just let you know right now, is a feature assignment. Okay. And I'll talk about what that means. 18.2% of the 70%. Okay. And then your major assignment is 4 times what one of these counts. So it's 36.4% of your 70%. Okay. And then, of course, on top of that, 70% overall grade is your 30% class participation. Okay. All right. So that's your rubric. Okay. And, again, some of that is explained in here. The rubric is available on the Canvas site. Participation is mandatory. Students are expected to actively engage with the professor, either with questions, suggestions, or participation in office hours. If you're like really kind of floundering, really not doing well, I mean, it really matters to me that you're actually reaching out and getting help. Okay. But that's really got to be on you. Okay. So, especially in this kind of setting, I mean, look where I'm talking from my bedroom, for crying out loud. I mean, it's like, you got to like reach out to me. You got to ask questions. Even, you don't have to say to set office hours. You could just email me stuff, that sort of thing. Okay. Please talk to me. And of course, again, please email me and let me know what your email address is. Okay. Okay. So, obviously absent, but if you are out, you probably should let me know, because I mean, if I don't hear back from you about certain things, because that's how we're dealing with this, I'm probably wondering where the hell is he going, all right, so I do have like policies, deadlines are extremely important in journalism, especially nowadays. I mean, back in the day when it was just what they called the dead tree paper, where you had essentially actually my magazine actually still comes out. It's not, this is actually not a final version, but this is actually they call it, this is how it's got like, it doesn't usually has like a regular binder here, but this is how we usually have it. This is when we proof it. This is what it looks like. This is like a paper, what they call a dead tree paper. Okay. So anyway, back in the day, if you didn't have assignments turned in on time, it would hold up, it would gum up the works. It would hold up things. It would, you know, assignments would come in late, so then the paper would come out, be produced longer, take longer to produce the paper, and the trucks come out later, and then we have to pay the truck drivers overtime and the whole thing. And then the people get their paper later, which is not good. Okay. So that, deadlines matter, but now it matters largely because of maybe from a credibility standpoint. Now, again, it's more important to be right than first. Okay. But when you are dealing with things like internet media, digital media, you do want to, you are in competition with other people, and like people are going to trust you more if you come out with the news right and first. Okay. So they're going to go to you. They're going to, and not only that, but it's the Google algorithm, which basically lists what stories are most important, blah, 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 or to go to. They're going to like list you more often if you're fast and right at what you do. Okay. Google doesn't actually like it when you're wrong. Like, for instance, when you have a misspelled headline, they actually reject that. Okay. By the way, we don't deal with headline writing in this class. That's like a whole different art, which I'll explain. We just write the story. Okay. But I'll explain what that is. But anyway, so you have your first draft. Okay. So now I do actually allow some wiggle room. So and I usually give like a deadline of like 11:59 p.m. or something like that on a certain day, usually on a Monday. Okay. So anyway, but I do allow a grace period, but if it's within that first 24 hours after the deadline time, what I do is you get a lower grade, typically one full grade lower on the ultimate assignment. Okay. There's no exceptions to that. Unless there's something going on in your family, you can let me know, whatever. Let me know. We'll fix it. We'll work on it. Okay. Just talk to me, communicate with me, that sort of thing. If it's more than 24 hours late, it's rejected. It's an F. Okay. So you got to really know that deadlines are important. Okay. Of course, you can also appeal a grade. You can basically stay in touch with me. Let me know if you feel like it's unfair. I take feedback well, I believe. So I may be like what's the word? Not curse. I may be terse at times, that sort of thing. I don't know. Maybe all of our moods, right? This is all in the Canvas site, different structures we go over. Like I said, the first half deals with more of the writing end of things. There is writing structure, AP style, writing basics. And then we get into the things like major assignment, public relations, data journalism, feature journalism. Okay. Yeah, I was just watching this thing about like how there's actually a way of actually like AIing a story. I think a way I like to think, maybe I'm naive. I have actually like made it so that it's almost impossible to do that. So hopefully, but I can like almost tell sometimes when people are cheating. I gotta be honest with you, not to give myself delusions of grandeur here. That's funny. I gotta change this. It says managing editor. I'm actually editor now. So anyway, so that's the deal with the syllabus. All right. All right. So again, that assignment we're talking about, and there's assignment list. Now, like I said, this is actually the teacher view. So I don't actually have it set up yet. You're going to see some stuff on here that you're not going to be able to, not going to deal with yet, like major assignment. Okay. But you're going to basically see this listed among your next assignments: profile, spring 2023, third person profile of yourself, which is what I showed you before. Let's go to the student view actually right now. You're not going to see that right now. You're going to see that on Tuesday. Oh, and then your lectures are going to be under the lecture portion of this, which I haven't posted yet. I have a separate lecture portion for the lectures. But it says upcoming assignments, and actually I have all the writing. So if you want to jump ahead on the reading, I have them all listed already with their deadlines. But you could just, it's April 10th. But they basically correspond with, and I'm not a big book guy, okay? And I try to bring in real life examples and things like that to lectures, so you don't have to worry about that, okay? But I really think that it's much more important to actually just learn by writing, okay, than anything else. But I do bring the book into the course, okay? And I do use it as something I talk about in the lectures and stuff like that, just not today. So, all right. All right, so look, if you have any questions, let me know. Just remember a couple of things. Again, don't buy the workbook. Get those two other books. And please email me and let me know, like, just say hello. I want to know what your email address is. And don't forget, on the 23rd, Monday, you have that self-profile, interview yourself story that's due. Okay. All right. So thanks very much, guys, and I will be talking to you.